The previous video talked about how to actually build out a template that has kind of a dynamic calculator. Let's actually look at how that might look in practice, and also how we might then pull the information. So let me share that screen again. So let's pretend, we've made a copy here of our template. I've got my diagram. I could come in and rename it. So this is going to be, I don't know, medical process 1. I don't know if it's medical. Say, I don't know, fun process 1. There we go. And this is going to change, those dynamic fields here. And remember, I have a custom shape library pinned over here. And I might come in and go ahead and add that step to get started. My dynamic or my default styles are set. So as I start to add other things like decision shapes here, it's going to just go ahead and fill those in. And I could start also populating, my custom shapes as I'm building this out. So I may build out, this whole little process. And as I'm building it out, I may choose to come in and start to fill these in. So maybe this is going to be start here. The step number is 1. The assignee is myself. The time is 5. And as I start to fill in these various different fields, we're going to see this start to build up. Okay, so I've just jumped ahead a little bit so you can see maybe a more built out process. It's all got time, and most of these also maybe have a step number or assignee. I didn't fill in all of these, but basically you get a process that has things built out, and you can see that our total time is currently over. So we may identify areas that we may to really refine this. You might apply a lot of other different Lucidchart advanced features here as well. For example, you could actually link out to maybe a different page or maybe an entirely different Lucidchart document as you're working to build out this process. It may be that this one leads into another one. So you can actually link it to the next process. So it's a living repository that you can just kind of follow through as you're following these different process steps. You might even come in and add certain things on layers. Maybe it's proposed changes or updates. We do have that capability as well. And you could even toggle on and off those layers using a similar shape action. As you're collaborating and working to build this out with people, you might even come in and check out the revision history. Maybe there's a point where you want to roll it back. Maybe there's a point where you want to compare across time versions. We're going to save, all of those different changes there as you go out. And again, remember, this data is pretty smart. So if I were to update this and get it, below a certain threshold, that counter is telling us, how are we doing in terms of, in this case, total time. Again, you might have more complex calculations, things like total time per assignee. Are you putting too much on one team or another? Is it one team that's having these really long processes? Maybe you need better staffing to improve those data points. You've got a lot of different ways that you can gain insight in using some of these advanced features here. Okay, so we built out kind of a process here. How might we get some of this information into a system, maybe if we wanted to run an analysis? Well, there's a couple ways you could get this out. First off, maybe you just want to go, embed this elsewhere. Perhaps you want to go embed it in SharePoint or Confluence for your teammates to see. You also could go ahead and share it with them. Lucid is an amazing folder structure, so it may be that you've put these into folders that are accessible to all who need to see it. Maybe view only or comment. In fact, once the process is completed, you might even assign a status, maybe going from something like draft to a fully locked status where people could only leave comments. So you have a lot of ways to kind of work here in Lucid in terms of sharing it out with people. We might even build it into a presentation or potentially leave comments and mention those who have some tasks to complete, maybe reviewing this process step that needs to be improved. But sometimes you need to take this information and get it elsewhere, potentially maybe to run an analysis. Well, one thing you can do is you can always export out to a CSV of shape data. And that's going to give me basically a list of the shapes on the page and their associated data. Probably an easier way to work with it, though, especially if you have a system that's maybe compatible with APIs, would be to use some of our APIs. We have some great REST APIs available here at Lucid. One of those is actually to get the document contents. So you would actually get a response like this, where it would give you, the pages, the title. It's going to give you the shapes on the page. It's going to tell you any data properties they might have. So that time, assignee, step number, those kinds of things. If you were linking data via a spreadsheet instead of, as I've been showing here, as custom data, it'll tell you the lines in which things are connected. So you basically would be able to kind of map out, this nice description of the process kind of in JSON, which you could then potentially transform and feed into a system for further analysis. So that's kind of a good example of how you might actually build this out and start using such a thing to build out processes that are backed with some data maybe have a little extra information and cool calculations here to gain some insight, as well as potentially then pull that information for further analysis, in a different system.